decided I would gamble and go for it because I'm not mentioning the naughty words. So I'm hoping this one won't get pulled like my last one did. Good evening. My name is Darren DOG. This video, this live stream is my update on the UK control group that I mentioned for the first time last week. That is a COVID vaccine treatment control group. Now, I've had a lot of feedback and I've taken a lot of advice in the last week as to how to make this more effective. And that's what I'd like to share with you tonight, is how the strategy has been streamlined and the plan is streamlined to make it simpler, easier to access, easier to use for everyone, so that we can be more effective. And I certainly would like to be effective, especially after what I experienced yesterday at the March, which I'll share in just a few minutes. First of all, I want to share with you the update. I'm trying to get used to the multitasking required to live stream, and I'm going to respond to somebody who said hello. This is my first time I've done this, so hello. Good evening and hello. Pardon me if I'm not an awesome multitasker when it comes to this. So, last week I was speaking to you all about the native reservation and about the control group. I've had a lot of feedback this week and I've taken some advice, and I'm going to simplify things. Things are going to get much easier for the next couple of months to be effective. So forget Native Reservation 1 for now. I know a lot of you have tried to access it and had problems. I have no idea why you're having problems, because it should be straightforward. Some of you are getting in easily, some of you are struggling. That is going to need to be looked into. But there are many of you who are interested in a control group and aren't interested in some alternative social platform. This modification is for you. So this is the new website and campaign. Join the UK Vaccine Control Group. You may have got some of these handed out yesterday. These are mine. These are the new site, inthecontrolgroup.com. So inthecontrolgroup.com is the new website for just the control group. Those of you who are still interested in Native Reservation 1 as an alternate platform to stay in touch and plan, that is still going ahead, and the planning of the control group will take place on Native Reservation 1. But if you just wish to join the control group or stay abreast of what's happening with it, then the place to do that is going to be inthecontrolgroup.com, and it is going to remain there. You should be able to get on there straightforward, and you should be able to straight up sign up to the control group there without any further obligations in thecontrolgroup.com. So we've simplified it because not everybody is obviously interested in an alternate platform, and I want to be very clear about the fact that the control group is the first port of call. It's the first strategy of taking this situation seriously, and I want to talk about yesterday for that. I've seen lots of people raving about how good the turnout was yesterday, which it was. It was wonderful. There was a lovely atmosphere there. It was very warm and welcoming. There was loads of great energy, but it's not all great news, and I'll tell you why. So I had a good few thousand of these that I was handing out yesterday. There was a bunch of others handing them out with me. It was a very carnival festival atmosphere, which is to be expected at such a thing. But I found very interesting the feedback we were getting in relation to the talk of a control group. People talk about, oh, I don't need no group, me. Yeah, I don't need a group. Yeah, freedom! I don't need no group. I don't need part of anything. I just want my freedom back. I want to just have a festival again. I just want to party. And there's just people getting more and more inebriated as they walk on, and bless them and love them. I mean, obviously they've been locked up for ages. People who love to party and connect, they've been denied that, and you know, they're just sharing their passion. But when you probe, what do you mean by freedom? What exactly do you mean, you know? And when you say, oh, I just want to party with my friends again, get back on the festival site. And I was like, well, you sound just like the people that are willing to take the shot to go back to Benidorm. There's no difference in your position here. And what I found really interesting was there was a real split in the response from people who knew that we are dealing with a serious issue. And when they realized the strategy the control group represents, they would give a knowing glance of understanding how it is a chink in the whole "this is science" thing. And I've had some interesting feedback talking about that, saying, well, we've got a control group. The control group is the unvaccinated and they're getting sick. And it's like, that is not the control group. When you look at thalidomide, and when you look at DDT, and when you look at the list of other drugs that have caused horrendous, debilitation and suffering in humans, it wasn't until much further down the line after people had been treated. So saying the unvaccinated are a control group is not really true. In a way, the control group want to wait until the experiment group have at least had one generation of children, if not two, to make sure that there are no downstream consequences. That is the purpose of the control group. It is not about just randomly having an unvaccinated thing. Now, I want to pick up on this thread of the people who want to party their way through this. Much love to them. Such a great atmosphere that was created by the passion of their energy. But there's a real lack of ordered response there that concerns me. And I'll tell you why it concerns me, because I have a great respect for the level of change that has come about in this country and in the world in a very short period of time. It has come about because of very ordered maneuvers. And standing there shouting for freedom at the top of our voices is a wonderful and honourable cause. But I must admit, and I mean no offence, and I really do mean no offence, but as a metaphor, it reminded me of, changing my baby's nappy when they don't want it to happen and they just roar at me because of it. And then as soon as the nappy change is over, they're back to being at ease again. And when I'm speaking to these people who are going, yeah, freedom, I just don't want to be locked up anymore. I just want to go back to normal. I was like, oh, you remind me of, so it's like, oh, we're going through the nappy change at the moment. And then once that's over, it'll be back to happy again. And I think that position underestimates the enormity of what we're dealing with here. It underestimates the scale and the level of strategy that is being brought to bear against us. And I think it requires us to tip our hats to a worthy opponent. And I've done that for many years and I continue to do so. So my strategies and my responses they are born of the same passion that these people are shouting out from. But it's a considered response, it's a measured response, it's an ordered response out of respect for those that are sitting on the fence, out of respect for those that I would like to win over, and out of respect for the scale of what we're up against here. So this is why I am suggesting a control group, a formal mandated control group. So let me paint the picture of what I mean by that. Is a formal mandated control group. So there's loads of people I met yesterday who said, I'm already in the control group. I said, yeah, but you're standing alone saying you're in the control group. And if our health freedoms get more affected and there's greater pressure and greater assumption and presumption of authority, are you going to be able to fend that off yourself forever? I don't actually think so. Something I noticed very interesting yesterday as I was traveling to the event was I got on the tube and I wasn't wearing a mask because the event is a no mask event. And I don't wear a mask anyway, but if anything, I may some days wear a scarf and just bury my face in it just for others' peace of mind. But what I found fascinating was getting on the tube and train and sitting down with no mask on, the people wearing masks would be like literally actively shirking back from a dirty native, basically, from their point of view. Now, they don't know what sort of disability or I may have been harboring or invalidity, but they didn't care either. All they knew was I didn't have one of these on, so I was dirty. And this is before there's anything formal. This is just while we're still in the early days, people are reacting like that. This is not going to go away or lighten up. So when I am asking for a rally behind the notion of the control group and asking people interested in health freedom to get behind the idea of a control group, it's because I believe an ordered response and pushback is required. So in that vein, I am suggesting instead of going for the line on the 21st of June this year, I'm going to save that for when we have enough numbers for a genuine breach of trust, which I think will come further down the line as there's more evidence that comes out. But for now, I'm just asking people to sign up for the control group so that I can present that list of people, maybe on a march if we can get enough people, on the 21st of June. So rather than it being a line spread across the country in June, I'm looking for something a bit like yesterday, which would be a rally for the control group, a march for the control group. So in the same way in the old days when people would deliver a petition to number 10, it's not a petition, it's a statement that Here are the volunteers, just as you were seeking volunteers for the vaccine treatment. Here are the volunteers who wish to stay out of it to be the side-by-side group, basically. This is a side experiment group, a control group for 15 to 20 years. So this is really just the update I have for you. That's all it is. I don't have anything else to say other than it's simplified. Native Reservation 1 is going to remain there for people that are interested in an alternate platform, but otherwise, inthecontrolgroup.com is what I'm going to be pushing in the next couple of months. If we get enough people, it'll pull it off. If not, if we're still going to be wanting to pull in different directions, and some stand for health freedom, some stand just for freedom, some stand for no jab, some stand for whatever. It was like I went to there was a really influential nurse there yesterday apparently, and somebody said, go and speak to her, go and give her one. She's really influential, she's got a huge following. So I went to speak to her and spoke to her for a second. She just glanced at it and she was like, we don't need a control group. What we need is no vaccinations. And I'm like, that's a big fight. You know, that's a big fight. You want no vaccinations, what, at all? Or just these ones? You know, what exactly is your position on that? Whereas what I'm talking about here is a very, very specific position, a very, very specific point, and a very, very specific push at what I believe is the chink in the armor. Now, this is a strategic video for people that are interested in strategy. You know, I don't expect it to get an enormous following or anything. I'm just updating for those that are interested at that level. So I'm going to wrap up now. You know, check out inthecontrolgroup.com. I'm going to be hitting that one in the next couple of months with the hope that we can get maybe as much as, I would love to get 1 million named. I would love to get 5% of the population. Now, on that website in the control group, there's the invitation to, even if you don't want to be in the control group, if you think we should have one, then you have the opportunity to add your name to the list there. Without enough numbers, without enough of an ordered response, this is just going to continue. Let's see. Oh, there's somebody here saying to me, there's somebody saying, let me just read this comment. Are you to use a group that has been established? Okay. So Finbar, tell me what group that has been established, please. Thanks for that, Finbar. We met yesterday, which was great. So yes, you've respectfully urged me. So urge me away. Tell me now, what is the group? And I can mention it here. There we go. Groundswell. Let me have a look at Groundswell. Cheers for that, Finbar. Let's have a look. Groundswell. Let's have a look at this. Oh, it's a charity. Very good. Sorry, everyone, I'm delayed. I'm just keeping up to date with the news. Out of homelessness. Advice on coronavirus. Homelessness. Okay. Okay. So I'm really up for things like this. I'm up for allying with whichever groups are already formed. I already know there's many people with way more numbers than I do. I don't have numbers. I have strategies that I know can be effective, but I don't have numbers. Let me have a look what he's saying about this. The group in London. Okay, I'm going to have a look at that, Finbar. Thanks for that. I mean, I'm really interested in connecting up with other groups, but for me, the strategy has to be effective. And if the strategy isn't going to be effective, like, you know, we're just to be the people, critical mass, something like that, I can't get behind that because there's not enough order in it. But I am very, very up for ordered response, strategic response, and something that is respectful of the situation and the enormity of what we're facing here. What was he said? Sorry, I'm just trying to read at the same time. Wait. Oh, that was an expression, not a group. Okay. So I apologise for the bit of a ramble here. I'm trying to learn to multitask and live stream and talk at the same time. So yes, that was just my update, really, to be honest. Yes, thanks, Finbar. I mean, there's loads of groups. There's Health Freedom. Loads of people mentioned groups to me yesterday. But I'll be honest to you, when I go and approach groups, they're not really interested. I'm just some guy coming up with something, and they're doing what they are doing. And for me, I find many of them are either too general or they are anti. I am not anti. I am not in a divide and conquer position here. I am not in a point and shame, point and blame position here. I don't think that's a healthy position. I think it's just doing what they do, and it's not helpful, especially if you want to win people over that aren't already on your side. I want to win people over. I want more people on this side of the fence, and they cannot be won over by rants and chants and all the rest of it. There needs to be passion combined with a sort of intellectual respect for the fact that they may also be intelligent humans who are acting out of love and concern, but they're just not aware of how they've been misled. Screaming freedom in their face while you're high, which is what was happening yesterday, I don't think it's going to win people over to your side. You know, it's just my personal opinion. It might feel good, but it's not going to sway the middles. So that's my concern. I mean, for me, I think we've got a limited time to push back here. And for me, a control group is one of the few arguments. I'm really up for having people suggest groups to me and introduce me to groups. Please do that. I'm really up for forming alliances. I think they are needed, but I do think we need to get behind single strategies rather than broad spreads. The march yesterday was a great example of it. It always happens when a march gets together, you know, and it happened to Occupy, and that was why I stopped going to protests. The only reason I went yesterday was to distribute these, and I stopped going to protests and things like that, because what you find is you're going there for a singular purpose, to achieve one thing, to get one point across, and then up come the Palestine flags, up come the veganism flags, up come the FGM flags, up come the everything we're outraged about flags. And then for the others who are on the fence, who are looking, saying, why are all these people gathered? Look, all these people are gathered. What is it? Oh, Palestine, needles, Bill Gates, FGM, veganism, what? And, you know, please, can we in future, when we are agreeing to come together on things, to stay on message? You know, you don't see an army. I mean, yesterday was called a march, okay? Armies march. They're not fighting for different causes when they are marching. They're going to fight a particular fight. We need to stand together to fight a particular fight rather than to fight all the fights. This requires real maturity and care, respect, and a channeling of that wonderful passion that was on show. I was talking to a friend about it, and I was saying, you know, I could really see, you know, I do gender work, you know, it was really interesting to see the masculine and feminine on show there yesterday, where the ones that were pointy and had points and had their intellectual points were from much more of the masculine point making, but they lacked the sort of fire and passion of the dancing ravers chanting for freedom. You know, they had the passion, but they lacked the order, and the ones with order lacked the passion. We need to fuse these together. And I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they gave it, well, in fact, it was just today. And the first name she came up with, she said, Martin Luther King. Yes, that fusion of passion and order, and look at what he managed to achieve in rallying people who were passionate but didn't know where to go and didn't know how to direct their passion in a way that would be effective. And he was effective. And I invite everybody who was there yesterday and everyone who has passion or thoughts about this. If you have thoughts, but you're not letting your passion come to the surface, embody that passion of yours and put it behind your ideas, says he, speaking to himself. And those of you that are passionate, please be respectful of the state of the situation and bring some order to your arguments when you're putting it out there. That's all I've got for tonight. It's been a long day for me and a long couple of days. I really want to thank you for your attention and for being on here. I hope you can join with me in either helping me form alliances with others, you know, to try to, in a couple of months' time, present a serious list to number 10 so that we can have a credible argument for having an ordered control group, where I'm going to be asking for 15 to 30 years of exemption from these novel treatments so we can see what happens to the gene pool. Now, on the website, inthecontrolgroup.com, I talk about thalidomide as an example and DDT, because what's interesting about them is that we gave them to a very small number of people. And so when we did discover the consequences, it was managed in that only those family lines were devastated by the impact of these substances that nobody knew was going to happen. They were, you know, actually said in the thalidomide packet, completely safe for pregnant women, completely safe. They were wrong, and they meant well. They were well motivated. Same as these people selling this absolute certainty that they cannot know. So yeah, asking for 15 to 30 years for that level of yeah, just security. And I'm tired, so I feel like I'm losing my threads now. So 15 to 30 years of exemptions is a big ask when you've got people who want to stick these needles in everybody's arms. But yeah, sorry, I've remembered my point. Point being that thalidomide was only given to a few people. DDT was only sprayed on a few people. And so once we were able to see the consequences, we could deal with it and it was contained. We're talking about sticking these needles in everybody's arms. Everyone. Can you imagine if we give thalidomide to every pregnant woman? Everyone. Can you imagine if we'd done that? The gene pool would have been devastated. We might even have lost the species out of it. Now, I'm not saying that is going to happen, but what I am saying is no one knows. And if they tell you they do, they're lying. They don't know. They cannot know. It hasn't been around long enough for anyone to know. Let's protect the gene pool. Let's protect the species, just in case. I mean, only a fool would suggest otherwise. Thanks for your time and attention.